The rain pounded against the diner window like a relentless accusation, mirroring the storm raging in Jack's heart as he clutched his 5-year-old daughter's tiny hand under the flickering fluorescent lights. Little Mia's fever had spiked again that night, her cheeks flushed and her breath shallow, but the doctor's bill from last week had already drained his wallet, leaving him with just enough for a cheap bowl of soup to tide them over until payday. Across the counter, the waitress, Emily, her name tag read, fumbled with a tray, her eyes red-rimmed from what looked like hours of holding back tears, as a rude customer berated her for a spilled coffee. In that moment, Jack's own grief over losing his wife 2 years ago paled against the raw vulnerability in her face. He couldn't just sit there, watching another soul break under the weight of the world. Hashtag Chapter 1. A spark in the storm. Jack Thompson had never been one for grand gestures. At 38, he was a mechanic by trade, his hands perpetually stained with grease, his days a blur of oil changes and engine repairs in a small-town garage that barely paid the bills. Since Sarah's death in a car accident, life had narrowed to survival. Getting Mia to kindergarten, scraping together meals, and ignoring the ache of loneliness that gnawed at him like rust on an old chassis. That rainy Tuesday evening, he'd taken Mia to Betty's Diner not for nostalgia. Sarah used to love their cherry pie, but out of necessity. The power had gone out at home, and he needed a warm place to wait out the storm. Emily Hayes, the waitress, was new in town, or at least that's what the locals whispered. She moved with a quiet efficiency, her auburn hair tied back in a messy ponytail, her uniform threadbare at the elbows. No one knew much about her. Rumors said she'd drifted in from the city, escaping some bad breakup or family drama. But Jack saw the signs of deeper struggle, the way her hands trembled as she poured coffee, the faint bruises of exhaustion under her eyes, the forced smile that didn't reach her soul. That night, as Mia slurped her soup and colored on a napkin with crayons Jack always carried, Emily approached their booth. "What can I get you folks?" she asked, her voice soft but strained. "Just the soup for her, and black coffee for me," Jack replied, glancing at the menu prices with a knot in his stomach. He had exactly $12 left after buying Mia's antibiotics earlier. As the evening wore on, the diner emptied, leaving only the hum of the jukebox and the patter of rain. Mia, sensing her dad's tension, tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, why is the lady sad?" she whispered, pointing to Emily, who was now wiping down tables, her shoulders slumped. Jack watched as Emily dealt with a particularly nasty customer, a burly trucker who snapped at her for forgetting his extra cream, then accidentally knocked over his water glass, soaking her shoes. She apologized profusely, mopping it up without complaint, but Jack caught the quiver in her lip, the way she blinked back tears. It hit him like a wrench to the gut. He'd been there, in the depths of grief, feeling invisible and worthless. When it was time to pay, Jack pulled out his last $10 bill for the $8 tab. But instead of pocketing the change, he slid the entire 12 across the counter, along with a crumpled 5 from his emergency stash in his wallet. "Keep it," he said quietly, meeting her surprised gaze. "You look like you could use a break tonight. We've all been there." Emily stared at the money, her eyes widening. I can't. That's too much." Jack shrugged, hoisting Mia onto his hip. "It's not much, but kindness doesn't cost what you think. Take care of yourself." As he stepped into the rain, Mia waved goodbye, and for the first day in months, Jack felt a flicker of warmth amid the cold, a reminder that even in his own poverty, he could still give. Unbeknownst to Jack, Emily wasn't just any struggling waitress. She was Amelia Harrington, heiress to a billion-dollar tech empire, her father's fortune built on software that powered half the world's smartphones. Disillusioned by a life of superficial luxury, betrayed by fake friends, and a fiancé who only wanted her wealth, she'd fled to this sleepy town 6 months ago, adopting a new name and a minimum-wage job to test the waters of genuine humanity. No bodyguards, no trust funds, just her, raw and exposed. That tip from Jack, a man who clearly had little to spare, pierced her like nothing else had. She pocketed it, not for the money, but for the gesture, vowing to pay it forward. The next day, Emily found herself thinking of Jack and his daughter. She overheard locals talking about him. The widower mechanic whose garage was on the brink of foreclosure after medical bills piled up. On her break, She slipped into the library, using a burner phone to anonymously donate enough to cover his next mortgage payment through a local charity. It was small, in her world, but she knew it would mean everything to him. Jack, receiving the news that evening, stared at the letter in disbelief. "Someone out there cares," he murmured to Mia, tears stinging his eyes. For the first time since Sarah's passing, hope cracked through his isolation, like sunlight piercing storm clouds. Their paths crossed again a week later. Mia had begged for pancakes, so Jack returned to the diner. Emily greeted them with a genuine smile this time. Her earlier weariness softened. "On the house," she said, sliding extra syrup Mia's way. Conversation flowed naturally. Jack shared stories of Sarah's love for stargazing. Emily opened up about her own abandonment by her mother as a child, leaving her to navigate a cold, affluent world alone. In those moments, barriers crumbled. Poverty met hidden privilege. Grief met guarded vulnerability. Jack's simple act had ignited a chain. Emily felt seen, not for her wealth, but for her humanity. She began volunteering at the community center where Mia attended after-school programs, their interactions weaving a tentative bond. Struggles persisted. Jack's garage faced a major repair bill. Emily battled the isolation of her double life, haunted by paparazzi threats if discovered. But in each other's company, they found solace, a reminder that compassion could bridge even the widest divides. As weeks turned to months, Emily's kindness extended further. She used her resources discreetly to fund a local food bank, inspired by Jack's selflessness. He, in turn, fixed her beat-up car for free one rainy afternoon, sharing laughs over coffee. Their connection deepened, not romantically yet, but emotionally, a lifeline in their shared storms. Jack began to dream again, envisioning a stable future for Mia, while Emily questioned her hidden life, wondering if authenticity could coexist with her inheritance. Word count, 712. ##### Chapter 2. Full Circle of the Heart. The autumn leaves swirled like forgotten promises as Jack pulled into the diner's parking lot, his truck sputtering from a faulty alternator he'd been too broke to fix. Mia, now giggling in the back seat with a stuffed bear Emily had gifted her, chattered about school. It had been 3 months since that first rainy night, and the diner had become their sanctuary. Emily's shifts aligned with Jack's evenings off, turning chance encounters into deliberate meetings. But tonight, tension hung in the air. Jack had lost a big client, and whispers of the garage shutting down echoed through town. He hid it from Mia, but the weight pressed on him like an unlifted engine block. Emily noticed immediately. As she served their usual pancakes for Mia, coffee for Jack, her eyes searched his face. "Rough day?" she asked, sliding into the booth during her break. Jack sighed, rubbing his temples. "You could say that. Bills are piling up again. Feels like I'm always one step from drowning." He didn't mention the anonymous donations that had kept him afloat earlier. They felt like miracles, too fragile to question. Emily's heart twisted. She'd been the source of those miracles, funneling small sums through charities to ease his burdens without revealing herself. But hiding grew harder. Her father's lawyers had tracked her down last week, urging her return to claim her inheritance before a corporate takeover. The isolation of her secret life clawed at her, abandoned by her mother at 10, groomed for boardrooms instead of playgrounds. She'd built walls money couldn't breach. Jack's kindness had cracked them, showing her that true connection came from vulnerability, not vaults. That night, after closing, Emily invited them for a walk in the park. Under the stars, Mia pointed out constellations Sarah had taught her, and Jack shared his grief openly for the first time. "I feel like I failed her," he confessed, voice breaking. "Failed Mia too. You're the best dad she could have," Emily whispered, her hand brushing his. In that moment, compassion surged. She decided to reveal a sliver of truth. "I've been through loss, too. My family, it's complicated. But you've shown me kindness matters more than anything." Their bond strengthened amid struggles. Jack faced eviction notices, working double shifts, his body aching from exhaustion. Emily dealt with internal turmoil, dodging calls from her past life, feeling the grief of a loveless upbringing resurface. Yet, hope flickered. Jack helped Emily move into a better apartment, fixing leaks and sharing meals. She, in turn, tutored Mia in reading, her patience born from her own lonely childhood. The turning point came during a town festival. Mia wandered off in the crowd, sending Jack into panic. Emily found her first, calming the child with stories until Jack arrived, breathless and terrified. "Thank you," he gasped, hugging them both. That embrace lingered, sparking something deeper, a tentative romance blooming from shared scars. But fate twisted unexpectedly. A tabloid reporter, tipped off, snapped photos of Emily, blowing her cover. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire heiress hides as waitress." Jack saw it on his phone the next morning, disbelief crashing over him. Emily, the struggling waitress, was Amelia Harrington, worth billions? He confronted her at the diner, hurt flickering in his eyes. Was it all a game? The tips, the talks, did you pity me? Tears streamed down Emily's face. "No, Jack. I came here to escape that world, to find real people. Your kindness that first night, it was the first time someone saw me, not my money. I've been helping you anonymously because you deserved it, not out of pity, but love." The revelation shattered and rebuilt. Jack grappled with betrayal, but seeing her vulnerability, the abandonment, the isolation, mirrored his own grief. "We all hide parts of ourselves," he admitted. "But kindness isn't about secrets. It's about showing up." In a full-circle act, Emily used her wealth openly now. She invested in Jack's garage, turning it into a thriving community hub with scholarships for single parents. Jack, in turn, supported her reconciliation with her father, attending board meetings as her rock. Their love deepened, marrying in a simple ceremony with Mia as flower girl. Poverty eased, isolation faded, replaced by a family forged in compassion. As years passed, they founded a foundation for struggling families, inspired by that rainy night. Jack often reflected, one act sparked it all. Their story became a beacon, proving kindness transforms not just lives, but worlds. In the end, this tale reminds us that in a world often shadowed by hardship and hidden truths, a single act of empathy can illuminate paths to unexpected joy, weaving threads of love that bind us in our shared humanity, urging us to look beyond appearances and extend grace freely. Moral of the story: true kindness, given without expectation, has the power to heal wounds, bridge divides, and return in ways that redefine our lives.